Good morning, everyone. Happy Memorial Day if you're in the U.S. I'm not sure if there's Memorial Day elsewhere today, but it is Memorial Day here in the U.S. Well, welcome in. I'm Martin Wenzel. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and hopefully you're having a good day. And we're going to try this flight again on our world tour, Flight 238, Auckland, New Zealand to Nouméa, New Caledonia in the A320 on AIRCALIN. Last time we were rudely interrupted as we came in for our descent, our approach into Nouméa. My son decided to turn off the power strip, and that was that. That kind of ruined the rest of the day almost for us. Let's see what I want to do. I just want to open the doors here. We're doing some catering business. Be there. So yeah, we'll be flying over to New Caledonia. It's about a 3-hour flight or something like that. I'm going to definitely use some time acceleration, double time, 2-time time acceleration, just to kind of get through this flight a little quicker and maybe avoid having that issue happen again, and then possibly be able to get the next flight in too today. I don't know what it looks like, but we'll see. Focus here. As I said, we're on AIRCALIN. We're going to be flight 411. Hey, to Ez Clips, welcome in. Glad to have you here. Hope you're having a good morning. We are in the Airbus A320neo, the FlyByWire A32NX mod, the free mod. Sticking with it, not getting the Phoenix, saving that money for other things like the ATR, which I've already bought and I fiddled with a few times. And other things like FS to crew and other various little knickknacks for the sim. So let's get things going here. So again, we're at Auckland International Airport. We're at gate 5, and we're going to do a quick safety check. First, engine master switches are off. Ignition selector normal. Weather radar is off. Landing gear lever down. Both wipers are off, and we're going to press. We're using FS to crew. That means I'm going to have a first officer simulated. We're going to hit the PPE, which is PFE, pre-flight events, and we're going to start doing some different things. Watch. Actually going to turn on the batteries. You can see certain things are popping on. He's going to bring the power over. While he's doing that, I'm going to turn up some lighting. Now, I don't think he does the fire test for the APU, so I'm going to do that fire test for him. Boom. He's going to start that APU. He's already got it going right there. Flip on the nav and logo light. Strobe, we're going to set to auto. So now I've got my flow that I have to do on the overhead panel. And we're just looking for all white lights. I'll turn those off. So crew supply, we're going to turn that on. RCDR panel, we want the ground control on. We want to test the CVR. EVAC panel, keep it at captain and purse right there. We got no lights on the GWS. Emergency electric power, good. Nav for the adheres. Go down here, back to the bottom. Strobe, beacon light off. Seat belts will be on once we get fueled. No smoking to auto, emergency lights armed. We do have the APU available, so we'll turn on the bleed. Air conditioning panel, cabin pressure panel, no white lights. Air conditioning panel, no white lights. X bleed is set to auto. Battery 1 and 2 off, and then on. And if we read down here on the electric page, this should be below 60 amps and decreasing. Okay. Back up top. Engine 1 fire test. Engine 2 fire test. Audio switching is set to normal right there. And maintenance panel, check all lights are off there. Alright, radio management panel. I can't figure out where this radio management panel is. Right here. Look and see that that's on. Fine to me. Green nav lights, select lights. I can never figure out where I'm looking for this radio panel. I have to kind of look that up. So, haven't had any problems without worrying about that. Turn up our screens. It's 1:20 in the afternoon. Zulu time, it's 1:20 in the evening, or at night. New Zealand being exactly 12 hours ahead of Universal Coordinated Time.
I'm out for the walk around.
Alright, so there goes the first officer. He's going to go for the... Obviously, we have this first officer modeled here. He hasn't left, but the FS to crew first officer is out for the walk around. So we're going to go into sim brief. Actually, don't need to do this, but it's always a good idea to do it. Check your FMGC. Here have a LEAP 1A26 engines. Active nav database May 18th, June 14th. Our second database is the same thing. The air rack. Go down to init, and we'll request this. Pull it right from SimBrief. We are going from November Zulu Alpha Alpha to November Whiskey Whiskey Whiskey. Alternate is Vanuatu, which is November Victor Victor Victor. We are flight number 411. Cost index is 60. Flight level 360 today. We'll go to page 2. We got our zero fuel weight and center of gravity. We can pull that up right over here. Payload page. We're gonna go on fuel, start getting that going. 10,100 today. That's gonna take only half a minute because we're already pretty full. Pop that off. Payload, we're gonna have 174 passengers, 32.86, 60.8. We're here, 60.8, and back over there, 32.9. Round everything up. Round to the nearest 10th. Fuel planning, we're actually going to have 10.1. Alright, SimBrief panel. Bring that up. And got our flight and everything. Looking right here at the raw data. We look for the average wind component, minus 92. That means we're going to have a headwind of 92 knots. It's going to kill our fuel and time here. Continuing on, flight plan. Back on the SimBrief, just double check. We got Elnos, Mugen, and Virar. And then we're going to have our various, we'll see what they give us, but we're going to be doing runway 5 right, and we're planning, saying 29. We'll see what we get. Kind of weird because when I pulled the SimBrief into Navigraphs, it switched it to 11, and last flight we had 11, but the winds were actually better for 29. It's kind of going back and forth on those. Wind isn't really a factor on either runway. Okay. We'll leave this until we get our flight clearance. Radio nav page, got our, that's the VOR for Auckland. performance page. Yeah, now I wish we could do the loading a little bit earlier, or we can, but what happens is that with FS to flow or FS to crew, the flight attendant will ask like, "Hey, can I start loading?" After we've already basically loaded the plane, so it's kind of weird in that sense. But we're gonna start doing that because I don't want to be sitting here forever waiting for. I think we'll be fine.
I'm back. No issues on the walk around.
Flipping things for what he's doing there. Alright, we're gonna I'm gonna tell you can tell the first officer to request ATC clearance to do a little he'll do some audio. I've got that turned off, or I'm not going to do that because I have FS HUD ATC over here, which we're going to hit right now.
Auckland clearance, AIRCALIN 411, gate 5. Request clearance to Tontouta with information, Mike.
AIRCALIN 411, clear to Tontouta via heading to Quebec, Nose departure, runway 05 right, initial climb 3000, then as filed, squawk 6554.
Cleared to Tontouta via heading to Quebec, Nose departure, runway 05 right, initial climb 3000, then as filed, squawk 6554, AIRCALIN 411.
AIRCALIN 411,
security
read back
and safety
correct,
checks
when
are
ready,
done.
contact
Are you
Auckland
good to start
ground,
boarding?
121.9er.
When ready, contact Auckland ground, 121.9er, AIRCALIN 411.
Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the jetway away, because as soon as we start doing the GSX boarding, we'll automatically bring the jetway out. Go away. There it goes. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready for boarding. So they're gonna start boarding. What we're gonna do though is we're gonna hit GSX and request boarding.
Requested.
Make sure this is set. Synchronization perfect. Back to that payload page. Got a full flight today, 174 passengers. Really cool. We should be able to see them all coming on through this glass jetway. That'll be really cool. So continuing on, we got our start our clearance, 3,000 feet. We got the runway 5 right.
Crew?
We're not going to board the crew because we're already on board.
Passengers boarding starting.
All right, oxygen mask test, brightness, loudspeaker, PFD, and ND. We did all of that. Okay, glare shield lights is required. Altimeter set to 1018. It looks like. Yep. For flight director buttons on, EFIS modes as selected. Mach dash. Can't get it dashed right now. Heading is dashed, and we got our initial altitude. Standby instrument looks good. Anti-skid, nose wheel steering on. Alright, weather radar, power switch. Off. Predicted wind shear off. Gain and tilt set mode. Switching knobs all normal. Check the status page. And check for altitude on the pressure page. Auto. The passengers coming on right there. Nice foggy day here. And you have to remember, in reality, it's 6:52 in the, not 6:52 in the evening. I have no idea what it is. 12:52, probably around midnight, 1 in the morning in reality in New Zealand. So that's what the weather we're getting. But we're gonna be flying here in midday. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to see as much of New Zealand as we did the last time I did this flight.
Good evening.
Badly.
How are you? I'm doing good.
Check the box.
Okay.
Gonna check the box. Good thing we can do is we can kind of watch just to see if there's anything weird. We do need to do that performance page. There's the ILS in there as well. Gotta do performance to see that. Alright, cockpit door. Gonna lock that. So the passengers don't lock us out accidentally, inadvertently. That happened to a Southwest flight just recently. Pilot had to climb in the window to get in there and open the door. Thrust levers check idle. Engine 1 and 2 master switches off. Engine mode normal. Parking brake on. Off. We can turn. Got the pressure there. Gravity gear extension check stowed. ATC mode selector 1. Altitude reporting on. We want this auto. That's the mode selector. System selector is 1, and then reporting is on. Para will be later for the TCAS. We got him checking the box. Takeoff briefing. Be our next thing to do. Back into the here, and I'm gonna bring up calculator for you. There it is. There's the calculator that I've been using pretty well. So we're gonna runway 5 right. We're gonna hit calculate. You see, it's giving us flaps 1. Flex takeoff temperature of 67 degrees Celsius. V1 speed of 153. Rotate speed of 155. And V2 of 159. Transition altitude is 11,000. Here. And our thrust reduction is 1100. Now, is it just me, or do they get on the plane really fast for 174 passengers? I think my settings have changed. I'm gonna have to check that, because GSX usually the passengers would be coming for a lot longer if had. Oh, that's weird. Got the timings and everything set up. Man, they're getting on fast. And the A32NX, wow, they're all on too. Man, look at them. Flying on these planes now. Alright. Well, what did it say? We're still waiting on cargo though, you can see that. Got time. Alright, we got all of this information in for the performance page. For that calculator, sorry. And do a quick takeoff briefing. Now, I'm not going to do a real life takeoff briefing. You talk about how you're gonna, if an engine, you lose an engine or this or that, and you have to abort the takeoff, which all those procedures. I'm not going to do that. I don't have that all memorized yet. So we're going to just kind of look at chart here, just kind of have an idea where we're going on taxi, not really. So we're going to runway 05 right over here. We're gonna push back, tail to the left. Pushing back towards gate 3, tail to the left. We're gonna come down Kilo, probably get Bravo out to Alpha, and Alpha out to here. We're gonna take off right here. We're not gonna be, we don't need the threshold extended. Take off right here. Plenty of runway. Once we take off, be straight out on the heading. We get to MREG, we're gonna make a turn. VLAN. Cadma, and then up the North Island, New Zealand, until we get to El Nose, where we will exit the New Zealand approach space, airspace. We'll go into Oceanic and onto our flight, Bujan to Virar, and then we'll have our arrival. Will be determined based on the winds and what they're us over there. Any questions?
No questions.
Right. So, we're just waiting for the cargo, I believe. Let's see. Got everything. Actually, the checklist. Alright, EFB ground, close the doors. And do that. Power unit. We have ground power. Alright, seatbelt harness, pedals, armrest, adjusted, seatbelt signs, on, fuel on board. We got 10100 kilograms, FMS takeoff data. Heck. MCDU, performance and flight plan. Keep it on the performance page for now. Thermal power, check off and removed. Sounds like we have cargo all on. Yep, that was what that little thing was. We can actually remove the external power. Fuel pumps on. Should have those fuel pumps on for the APU, I believe. Beacon light on. And let's do a 4-star checklist down to the line.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On and auto.
ADIRs.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
10100 kilograms.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrel ref.
1018 set.
1018 set. Down to the line.
Auckland ground, AIRCALIN 411, gate 5, request pushback and start up. AIRCALIN 411, pushback and start up approved. Pushback and start up approved, AIRCALIN 411.
Alright, windows and doors closed. Beacon light on. Thrust levers idle. Called the tow truck. ECAM. Nose wheel steering disc message. Find that on the wheel.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback. Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
I guess I've never gone on this page until after I've started the engine.
Runway vacated with Alpha. 148, taxi to gate 6, by Alpha, Bravo. Taxi to gate 6, by Alpha, Bravo, New Zealand 148.
Locking gear.
Interesting, I wasn't able to pick the provider for the pushback and everything. Alright, Swissport works.
Release parking brakes, please. Commencing push. All engines clear.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
On.
Thrust levers.
Idle.
Parking brake.
Released.
Before start checklist complete.
Starting engine 2.
Check.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence the safety demonstration. Each aircraft may be different, so we'd appreciate your attention to the TV monitor closest to you.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à bord de cet Airbus A330 Neo d'AIRCALIN.
Veuillez s'il vous plaît nous accorder votre attention pour la présentation des consignes de sécurité.
Vous trouverez également ces informations pleines de couleurs sur la notice de sécurité située dans la pochette du siège devant vous.
Durant le vol, merci de suivre attentivement les instructions de l'équipage.
Assurez-vous que vos bagages et appareils électroniques les plus volumineux sont bien placés dans les coffres à bagages pendant le décollage et l'atterrissage. Vos jouets préférés ou bagages à main de petite taille doivent être placés sous le siège devant vous. Les allées et les issues de secours doivent rester dégagées durant le vol.
Les ceintures de sécurité en classe économie et premium économie s'attachent et se détachent de cette façon. Et de cette manière en classe business et
Starting
business.
engine 1.
Nous vous recommandons de maintenir votre ceinture attachée lorsque vous n'avez pas à vous déplacer. Si vous voyagez avec un bébé assis sur vos genoux, attachez votre enfant en utilisant une ceinture de sécurité spécifique distribuée par l'équipage. En cas de turbulence, lorsque la consigne lumineuse s'allume, dirigez-vous vers votre siège et attachez votre ceinture. De même, les bébés doivent être maintenus hors des berceaux et attachés sur vos genoux.
Il est strictement interdit de fumer sur tous les vols AIRCALIN, y compris dans les toilettes qui sont équipées de détecteurs de fumée. Et en plus, c'est meilleur pour la santé. L'usage des cigarettes électroniques est également interdit à bord. Avant de vous envoler vers d'autres horizons, les téléphones portables et tablettes doivent être positionnés en mode avion. En cas de perte d'un appareil électronique à l'intérieur de votre siège, évitez toute manipulation et prévenez l'équipage. L'utilisation des prises des sièges est interdite pendant le roulage, le décollage et l'atterrissage.
Il y a 8 issues de secours
APU
sur
bleed
cet avion.
off. Faster switch
Prenez le
off.
temps de
Engine
repérer la
anti-ice
sortie la
as
plus
required.
proche.
We're gonna go with that because
Attention,
we do have a lot of
celle-ci
fog.
peut être située derrière vous.
L'appareil est équipé de
Being
toboggans
anti-ice.
et de canaux. En cas d'urgence,
Oh,
un
there we go.
marquage lumineux au sol vous guidera vers la
Let's see.
sortie.
Ground spoilers should
En
be
cas
armed. Rudder
d'évacuation,
trim 0.
vous
He's got the
devrez
flaps
laisser
coming
tous vos
out.
bagages à main
Pitch
à
trim
bord.
as required.
En cas de
Decam off for
dépressurisation
technical
de la
status
cabine,
reminder.
les masques à oxygène situés au-dessus de votre siège tomberont automatiquement. Tirez sur le masque le plus proche et appliquez-le sur votre visage, à l'endroit de préférence.
After start
Placez
checklist.
l'élastique derrière votre tête
Anti-ice.
et respirez normalement.
Ecom status.
Ajustez votre
Check.
masque avant de porter assistance
trim.
aux autres passagers.
0% set. He always gets annoyed by that.
Les gilets de sauvetage
Set
se
and
trouvent
check.
sous la coudoir centrale
Rudder trim.
en classe premium
0.
économie et sous
After
votre
start
siège
checklist
en classe
complete.
business hibiscus et économie. Si nécessaire, enfilez-le et passez la sangle
Right.
autour de votre
Do
taille.
Flight
Fixez
control
la
check.
boucle et tirez sur la sangle pour la serrer. Une fois à
Flight
l'extérieur de
control
l'appareil
check.
et sur ordre de
Ready.
l'équipage, gonflez votre gilet en
Full
tirant
on.
sur la poignée rouge.
Full down.
S'il ne se gonfle
Neutral.
pas,
Full
soufflez
left.
dans les embouts buccaux.
Full right.
Le gilet
Neutral.
est équipé d'une lampe
Rudder.
qui fonctionnera automatiquement.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Pull down. Neutral. Pull left.
Si vous entendez l'ordre brace,
Full right.
brace, adoptez l'une
Neutral.
de ces positions de sécurité.
Notre décollage
The
est
weather
proche.
radar and
Assurez-vous
with the
que
wind
votre
shear.
ceinture de sécurité est bien
Auto brake
attachée,
should be max.
votre
It
tablette
is.
et le dossier de votre siège redressés. Le commandant de bord et tout son équipage vous souhaitent un excellent vol à bord de cet avion AIRCALIN.
Airport 411, taxi to holding point, runway 05 right, via Alpha. Taxi to holding point, runway 05 right, via Alpha, AirCalin 411.
Right. Clear left side.
Ready. Clear right side.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Here we go. Go over taxi lights on, runway turn off lights. Oh, it's gotten pretty foggy here. I figured we'd be able to see something coming out of New Zealand, but it doesn't look like we're going to see any of the ground today. Sadly, beautiful scenery. We'll have to do some more New Zealand flights. Unfortunately, today it is knocked in with fog. Alright, so the Echo right there. Bravo. We'll turn to Bravo, and then we'll head down to Alpha. Alright, so looking at the MEDAR for Auckland, we got broken clouds at 1,800 feet, broken clouds at 6,000 feet. But we also have patches of fog, which you can clearly see we have right now. Wind is coming 4 knots at 10 degrees, so it's basically a crosswind on the takeoff, but not too bad. And we have limited IFR, LIFR, which is runway visual range. Visibility is 1.3 kilometers. Not much there. UNH 1018. Yeah. Before takeoff checklist.
Flight
Contact
controls.
Auckland Tower 118.7. Contact Auckland Tower 118.7. AIRCALIN 411.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flap setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
153, 155, 159, flexing 67 degrees.
V1 153, VR 155, V2 159, ATC.
That.
Ecam Memo.
Takeoff no blue.
Down to the line.
Auckland Tower, AIRCALIN 411, runway 05 right, ready for departure.
AIRCALIN 411, line up, runway 05 right.
Line up, runway
Approach
05
path,
right,
clear of traffic.
AIRCALIN 411.
Below the line.
Takeoff runway.
05 right confirmed.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
TCAS.
TARA. TARA.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
PAX.
Set. On.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Get onto the runway.
AIRCALIN 411, wind 10 degrees at 3 knots, runway 05 right, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 05 right, cleared for takeoff. AIRCALIN 411.
Ready?
Ready.
Take off.
Check. Thrust set. Knots. B1. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
AIRCALIN 411, contact Auckland, approach 120.1.
Contact Auckland, approach 120.1.
Thrust climb.
AIRCALIN 411.
Checked.
Auckland approach. AIRCALIN 411. Cabin to Quebec departure at 1,600. Climbing 3,000.
AIRCALIN 411, radar contact. Continue climb 12,000. QNH 1018.
1000 to go.
Continue climb 12,000. AIRCALIN 411.
Set altitude 12,000. Managed climb. Autopilot 1 on. Flap 0.
Speed checked.
Heavy radar contact. Expect Lima Uniform November Bravo India Alpha Romeo Alpha Delta 7 Bravo. Arrival Lima Echo November Golf Uniform.
What's to see down there with all the fog over Auckland?
Right. Report when ready for descent.
But yeah, it's usually pretty beautiful if you can see down there.
Expect Lima Uniform
Flying out of Auckland and start seeing some of the mountains. And we're clearing the fog a little bit. Should be able to get a decent visual of the ground on the North Island once we get outside of Auckland, looks like. Yeah, that direction looks pretty clear. Once we get out of Auckland, Auckland's just kind of socked in with fog. After takeoff, climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Packs.
On.
Down to the line.
Off. Anti-ice.
Climb and maintain flight level 210, AIRCALIN 411.
Alright, so he just turned off the landing lights, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the seatbelt signs as well. And we also have the option of having him clear this. We'll leave it. It usually just automatically adjusts what we need. So we're heading to Zealand right there. Next one's going to be Cadma.
Descend and maintain 5,700.
Right, zooming out so we can see that next waypoint.
Descend and maintain 5,700, New Zealand 126.
Standard pressure. Below the line.
Barrow ref.
Set. Standard set. Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff, climb checklist complete.
Alright, pretty much. Kind of in the point now where we're probably going to go. And got 3 hours. So I'm going to throw on the time acceleration because I want to get this flight in and get through it. Not that I hate flying it, but we've already flown it once. But it's always enjoyable. So we'll get a few beautiful shots here of New Zealand. New Zealand looks really good. Again, it's because they did the world update. I don't know what it is about it, but it looks beautiful down there. I wish China looked as good. I really do, because then I'd be doing a lot more Chinese flights.
New Zealand 126, cleared Hotel November, Scar 3 Delta, arrival, QNH 1018.
Cleared Hotel November, Scar 3 Delta, arrival, New Zealand 126.
Sim rate 2.
Alright, so we've doubled the sim rate. You can see we're moving just slightly faster. Twice as fast, in fact. Now I know there's that great debate in the flight sim community whether time acceleration is realistic. Well, no, it isn't realistic to accelerate time. But on the other side of the argument, at least from one person he kind of changed my mind about time acceleration too. Because I was one of those that's like, nope, you fly the flight. If it's a 10-hour flight, you have that thing running for 10 hours. And he kind of talked about, like, especially now with electricity getting more and more expensive, the environmental concerns, that kind of stuff. And actually, where I kind of don't want to do this right now.
Sim rate 1.
Because we are missing some.
Ladies and gentlemen, your menu is in your seat pocket and details fresh and local dining options. Shortly we will take your orders. For your convenience, there are lavatories located both forward and rear of your cabin.
But he's a real life pilot. I think he flies the 737, and especially with the PMDG has time acceleration. You can accelerate that up, I think, to 16 times speed. You can really do some long flights in a short period of time for yourself. I think you want to stick around. I think they recommend sticking like 8 times the highest, but it's actually really stable. The problem with fly-by-wire and most other planes is 2 times is basically as high as you can go. The A20N, the fly-by-wire, they've actually limited it to 2 times just because there's so much going on. If you go faster, it's going to really kill your sim and cause problems for the plane. Now, and it all ends up with frame rate too. It's like the lower your frame rate gets, every time you accelerate, you lose some frame rate. I'm doing really good on frame rate because we're basically in cruise, or we're in climb and then being cruise. So you don't want to use it when you're close to the ground. You don't want to use it, of course, on approach or anything, typically. But he argues that it actually helps with realism in the sense that you can fly more realistic routes. Because most people, what happens is when they only have an hour or two to spend on the sim, what do? They fly a flight that's an hour and a half long, right? Which is a lot of our flights. We've been flying short flights because I've been doing realistic time. Hey, Werifon, welcome in. I saw you last time. We're flying this flight again because the little boy decided to cut off the power just as we were coming in for that approach into Nouméa, so we didn't actually finish the flight, so we're going to do it again. We were socked in with fog over Auckland, but it's cleared up now. Going up the North Island of New Zealand, so we get to see the beautiful scenery here in around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sim time. But I'm talking about simulation rates, sim rates, and right now we're at sim rate 1. I did a little acceleration, but we're going to wait until we get to cruise, and then we'll accelerate. But the argument for using time acceleration is that you can do more long-haul flights without having to have your computer running, and generating heat, and burning power for 10, 12 hours. And maybe trying to schedule that for yourself, too. And just have your computer working while you're not really doing anything. That you can do a 5-hour flight, and if you accelerate it 2 times, it's only going to take you 2.5 hours. Or if you do a 5-hour flight and you're in the PMDG where you can accelerate it up to 8 times, it's going to take you half an hour, an hour. And it's actually, you get to see the scenery still. You can actually sit in front of your computer and just do that. You have the flexibility. Of course, you can always go to 1x speed, walk away, do the dishes, eat, do whatever. I've done that where I'll set a flight and I'll do other stuff. And so each their own, but he says it's more realistic because you can fly those longer flights, which allows you to load your plane with more fuel than you usually would on most. If you're only doing all the time, you're flying in the 737 or the A320 or whatever plane you're using, you're always flying half an hour to an hour and a half flights. Usually your fuel load's going to be about the same every time. You're very rarely doing something, you're not taking off with a higher weight, and it's going to be different. So it kind of tosses that in. There's a longer flight, just it acts differently than a shorter flight. And so if you do use a time acceleration, you can, in your gaming session, maybe you have 3 hours where you can spend on Flight Simulator every day or during a week. Like for me, I have like 3 hours a week almost. Well, if I want to do a flight that's 10 hours long, I can't do that unless I do it overnight while I'm sleeping, which you kind of miss all the scenery then, in some sense. Or you use time acceleration. So I've kind of opened up to using time acceleration more. I think we did use it the last time we flew this flight, which I think is the first time we've ever used it on a world tour flight. I have used time acceleration a number of times now on non-world tour flights, but I haven't done it yet on world tour. I'm now going to do it. This is probably the first flight we're going to do it. And it's going to allow us to do longer flights in a shorter amount of time. So that way, when we have a 6-hour flight, I can do it in 3 hours, or I can do it in an hour and a half, depending on what plane I'm flying. Or I can leave it 6 hours and we have time to do other things. I have time to step away. And I mean, you can already see we're down to 217 for time. I'm probably going to, they'll probably do the time acceleration because they'll let me get it done by 9 o'clock. When everyone starts really stirring around the house. I want to pump this. Alright, so flight level 360. New York climb. Still using FS2 Crew, and I'm really digging it. I didn't really get into it when I first bought it about a year ago when it first came out for FlyByWire. Now I'm contemplating getting it for the CRJ and the 737, which is probably going to be another $50. But there are a few other options that do similar things, so I'm trying to see if I can do some kind of preview stuff with those and just kind of decide which one's the best, because got a good feel for this one, but maybe another one has some more features or more voices, which is a real big thing. I'd love to have more voices for the crew, because currently we have the options of... I'll go in my settings to see what we have. Currently we have the options for voices. We have for the pilot flying. Now, of course, you usually don't hear the pilot flying because I am the pilot flying. We'll look at the first officer. We have the options for first officer of US male, US female, UK male, but not a UK female for some reason. European Union male 1, and then European Union male 2 with a headset filter, which is weird. So it's just kind of the weird language options because they don't all have headset filter. They don't all and they don't all have male and female. Just the US has male and female. Now cabin crew, on the other hand, US male or US female, UK female, and then European Union male 1, European Union male 2. Like, okay. Weird. But it'd be really cool, you know, just simulating flying different parts of the world, right? You know, you're flying Air France, it'd be cool to have someone, you know, your first officer and your flight attendants have kind of that French accent, right? What would be really cool is if they spoke in the local language, if you could even select them to speak in local languages. Because typically, if everyone speaks the same language on the flight, like the crew, if everyone on the crew speaks French, they're all going to speak French to each other. Of course, they will speak English when they're talking to passengers, if the passenger also doesn't speak French or whatever their local language is. They will use English. English is the international language. And of course, with ATC communication, English. If you have a mixed crew, a crew that has you know, typically a lot of American crews use this. You'll have, and that's typically because everyone on the crew, for an American crew, does speak English as their native language, but then they also have people on that crew that they do have a second language, or it is someone who's come to America and their first language is that other language, and then they've learned English necessarily. But typically they'll all speak English, and then you might have a crew member that speaks different languages. And I'm sure, like, for example, I know Emirates and, you know, a lot of those Middle Eastern airlines for sure, but a lot of the bigger airlines, you'll get people from all over the world. So sometimes you'll have a pilot who's from Germany, you know, especially like Emirates. I think of Emirates, and they have pilots from all over the world. They have crew from all over the world. You have crew from, you know, Korea and China and the Middle East and America. And they all have to be able to talk to each other. So, of course, they're all speaking in English, but they also have their native languages, which really helps out if they run into a passenger who also speaks the same language as them, and they need that passenger needs more help. But that'd be really cool to have in FS to Crew, or any crew simulation kind of thing. Would it be more languages, more voices, of course, and of course someday we'll have that. Someday all this is gonna be built into one simulator too. It'd be crazy. You know, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2050. It's gonna be all in one. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna all be, you know. All right, climbing out here. We're almost to cruise. Beautiful New Zealand with the moon. The moon is starting to grow. It looks like, what is that, the waning phase, I believe? Waxing? Alright, we're at cruise. Seatbelt signs are off. We're gonna go and do Simrate 2.
Simrate 2.
Move us along a little faster. And while we're cruising, I'm also gonna kind of look ahead to the next flights, see if it's feasible to get this in today. For this morning. Doubtful, because by the time we get done with this flight, even with the accelerated time is going to be about 9 o'clock, and I'm about to cut off at this point about being able to watch simming. Wish I could sim in the afternoon, but way too hot in this room. I'm going to probably have to move my whole setup, move it to the other room over there. Smaller room, wood floors, so a little bit more of echo or something. Try to get that all worked out, but also have an air conditioner in there, and that room just doesn't get as hot. This room just gets so hot. It's like an attic. They finished this room, converted from attic into a room, but they didn't put any like insulation or anything. So it's just an attic with carpeting and you know, nice walls and everything, and sunlight. Oh, it gets really hot. Even yesterday I think it was like 70 degrees outside yesterday, but by the afternoon, by the time I got home, I come up here and compared to downstairs, it was just beautiful. Felt so cool. Come up here, sweating, and that's not even a hot day. Alright, so next flight, we're going to be flying the A320. We're going to be flying Air Caledonia International, which is AIRCALIN, what we're in right now. It's going to be flight 340. We're going to be flying from New Caledonia, France, Nouméa, where we're going to right now, up to Haifo Airport in Maale, Wallis Island, in Wallis and Futuna, which is another part of France. So we're going to be flying a kind of a domestic flight out here in the Pacific, because it is France to France, but different territories. New Caledonia to Wallis and Futuna. That flight will be taking off 8:45 in the morning sim time. We might be doing it this morning, maybe this afternoon, maybe on Saturday, because that's my next time off. So keep an eye out on that. We'll see what we do. Kind of throwing it into sim brief to see what times we get, and it looks very similar on time. 3:15 scheduled block time, basically the exact same as what we had for this flight. So it is a possibility to do it this morning. We have to do again time acceleration. Not impossible. 1,140 nautical miles for that flight. About the same as this one. Down there you can see Païta Airport. Granja Lover. Yep, fly-by-wire. I'm using the A320 Neo fly-by-wire A32NX mod. Also using the FS to crew. I have a first officer bounce things off of. Also use an FS HUD ATC. Yeah, good aircraft. I always enjoy flying the A320. Sometimes if I fly one plane, I flew the CRJ a whole bunch in a row, and you really get very used to one plane. I'm kind of at the point now where I feel pretty comfortable bouncing between. I mean, the A320 I can kind of pick up really quickly. Once we get back to the Boeing 737 a few flights from now, it's going to take a little time just to get used to where everything is, how everything works. Same with when I go back to the CRJ. I'm flying the CRJ a ton when I do what is it called? Simbit World's Pilot's Life, because I'm flying for SkyWest on there, and that's a CRJ, which is really fun to fly those. You know, shorter flights, even though some of the flights are longer than some of these World Tour flights, but shorter flights, CRJ is really cool. But we're in the A320. I always enjoy it. It works pretty well with GSX Pro, which simulates passengers getting on the plane, fueling, all that stuff. we've been having issues with the fueling, so I've turned that off, but I have not tried the Phoenix. Kind of the reason is because I have the fly-by-wire. Like, if I'm going to spend money on a plane, I want it to be a plane that I kind of don't have. Like, I know the Phoenix is the current engine option. I know it's got a lot more, it's got a lot more systems and a lot more bells and whistles, but yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not bashing it at all. I'm just like, well, I already have an Airbus, an A320. I'm not really interested in getting, like, I think Latin VFR has the A321, and even though I think that, not sure about that, but I already spent too much on the PMDG stuff because I bought the 700 and then I bought the 800. I really wanted the 800, but I couldn't wait for the 800, so I got the 700. I barely fly the 700 now. And both of those ran, what, 50, 60, 70 bucks. And it's like, So I kind of blew a little bit. I bought the ATR, which I think once with the discount and everything, I ended up being $12, so that works really nice. Because it's such a different plane. I mean, having, it's nice to have the Boeing and the Airbus because they are different. I'm not huge on like, oh, I need to have the Phoenix or I need to have the A321 or the A319. It's like, okay, those are slight variations, I know, but you can kind of fudge it. Because I like to fly use the plane that they use in real life for a flight, whatever flight I'm flying. Can't always do that, but with the Boeing 737, the A320, CRJ, and the ATR, you can cover a lot of flights. Now, I don't have the Embraer. Probably not going to get that. Oh, it would be cool because it's got a completely different kind of yoke and everything too. If I had more money, I would be buying all these planes probably. But I've already probably spent way too much based on my budget for Flight Simulator. And I tend to, for some reason, I tend to sit back and go, I don't want to spend 40, 50 bucks on a plane. But then I'll spend 40, 50 bucks on other little things or Microsoft Flight Simulator that aren't as interesting sometimes. And I still haven't jumped into buying an airport yet. Weird. Considering that, yeah, I've bought things like seasonal packs, I've bought things like FS to Crew, ATC HUD, FS HUD ATC, bought like Pack X, various little side things that go, but which work with almost every plane too. Those are my favorite things, are little things that add on to Flight Simulator but also work with everything. It's not just specific to a plane. That's where FS to Crew kind of hurts me, because FS to Crew you need to buy like 25 bucks for each plane, the crew thing, which makes sense. I mean, that you need to have a different thing for each plane, but also sucks that's 25, 30 bucks for each one. Almost as much as a budget plane. But yeah, I've seen the Phoenix. Like for me, I'm on a budget, some sort of budget. So Fly-by-wire does just fine. It'd be cool to have the Phoenix. I mean, the Phoenix it's pretty sharp. I love their EFB, what it looks like, what they got. But at the same time, I kind of want to support the Fly-by-wire guys. I'm using experimental. You see, it's got the. Not sure why they ripped that off there. I think they have the same, because they used to have the sticker here that said inoperable, and if it's the red one, it's the experimental. Yellow is the development, and stable, I don't know what color stable is if they have. It's probably yellow too. Kind of funny because they use the same exact texture for that sticker. And here it should still be on because this is inoperable. The weather radar doesn't really do anything. But if you put the terrain on ND, it will show the terrain. If you're over terrain, right now we're in the water, we're too high. Leaving New Zealand behind, headed out to New Caledonia, out in the South Pacific Ocean. Flying with, see how fast the time is going there. Flying with 2 times accelerated speed right now. Pull up with the weather. We're gonna look at F. Even though I'm doubting the MEDAR gets updated on too much at remember whiskey. I'm from the U.S., Wisconsin. Live about 90 miles north of Chicago, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Home Milwaukee Bucks, if you know the NBA. Champions, what, a couple years ago now? Time is flying, I'll tell you that. Oh, you're from Massachusetts. Well, there you go, you know. I kind of say it that way because a lot of people are asking and they're from... They'll be from like Africa or somewhere in Europe, and saying Milwaukee doesn't usually always mean anything. Though I can say Milwaukee Bucks now, and more people will know that, especially if they follow basketball. Used to not be that way. Alright, let's go in here, get our messages. And looking at the tab, New Zealand, you see, has a nice terminal area forecast. Not so much for, well, a little bit. Well, November whiskey, which is Nouméa. This is from 1100 Zulu, which time is it? Yeah, it's about an hour, 45 minutes old now. Oh, well, that's the forecast. What am I doing? So this is valid from the 29th, today, 12 o'clock, to the 30th at 12 o'clock. Noon Zulu time. Variable winds at 2 knots, so we're probably, unless this changes, and it's saying, let's see, yeah, basically it's just kind of be a light wind, every variable direction. So we're gonna come in runway 11 because that's got the ILS and everything, easier approaches. Unlimited visibility, scattered clouds at 5,000 feet coming. From midnight to 2 in the morning, Zulu time, of course, so this will be actually noon to 2 in the afternoon these times over on this side of the world. We got 10 knot winds, so we're picking up winds, but we're going to already be landed well before this. It's about 12 hours from now. That it does. The Sim World people, yeah, people from all over. And I used to, doing this world tour, it's really interesting because depending on where you're flying, when you're flying it, that's where a lot of the audience comes from at that moment. So probably a year or 2 years ago when I was flying Africa, so many people, I still get comments on old YouTube videos, you know, oh man, this is where I'm from, you know, Uganda or Ethiopia or wherever I was flying this world tour in Africa. And, you know, now that, you know, obviously over Europe, and also depends on when you stream. Because I stream in the morning, where typically get a lot more European audience, it seems. But really the best time for me to stream because wife and son are still sleeping. The weather, it hasn't gotten too hot. Also, the afternoon during the summers here, the problem is that my room, up the second floor room, it's basically a converted attic, and we need to do some insulation and stuff because when they did this attic, they made it. It's a nice room, just this nice big activity room, except it's got this one little window, so it has no real airflow, and then all the heat you know, it's an attic. It's just like an attic. It becomes an oven in here. So afternoon flying is kind of out of the question. Not even just for me being overheating and being super hot, but the computer, of course, I don't think would make it. Well, that's why I fly in the morning, typically, for a couple of reasons there. Yeah, I got into flight simming 2018. I remember with X-Plane, and I remember it was, I think it was on sale. It was like $20, $30. And I was sitting there going, oh, should I get this? I don't know why. I was so concerned about spending $30 on a flight sim, because I've spent 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks on computer games regularly. But for some reason with a flight sim, I was kind of like, do I want to spend money on this? You know. Got it. Fell in love. Started doing a world tour, this world tour concept where I'm just, because I was trying to figure out like what kind of flight, where should I fly? You know, it's always the hardest thing deciding where to fly. So I said, well, why don't I fly to every country in the world? And so basically what I did was, okay, and I started in New Zealand because in X-Plane I got like one of the first, like a New Zealand ortho photogrammetry, or not photogrammetry, but satellite photo pack came out to make, you know, which is an automatic thing here in Flight Simulator, but wasn't in X-Plane. Came out from New Zealand and Australia. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start in New Zealand. I think I started in Christchurch, flew up to Auckland, and then flew basically everywhere I'm flying right now. Did that in X-Plane, and did that for about a year before we came back here to America. I was living in China at the time, and then continued doing that, and then Flight Simulator came out, and I was like, oh, Flight Simulator is going to be the way to go because it has the, you know, just the scenery and everything. Hey, Sasha. But yeah, I got it in 2018, and yeah, I've been flying a ton, and since coming back to America where I have a lot less time, basically it's become the only thing I do now when I'm on my computer. I have all these other computer games. I wish I had more time to, you know, just go in and dive into like Skyrim or any number of other things I have, or new games that are coming out that'd be really cool to get into, but they require time to get into them, and I like to almost, all I want to do is that when I have a little bit of time, I think I want to fly. Oh, I got 5 years of doing this, and getting better. Sasha doing all right. Doing all right. Finally have a day off here again. Yep, been working on the overlay. It's changed. So if you go back, you go over on my YouTube, you can see all the past streams, basically the whole world tour, starting with flight 1 all the way here to flight 238. And yeah, it's changed a lot over the last few years. I'm really liking this one because I cleaned it up. I have a widescreen monitor, so I have widescreen, but I've kind of cut it off, shrunk it a little bit so it's not, I don't have such an overlay. The overlay's not covering so much of the screen now. Like, you're not missing anything except for actually some things on the side that I've cut off because of the widescreen. But yeah, I got, you know, changed the fonts. I always wanted to. Yep, that was always my key thing. When I was flying an X-Plane, what I did was I would always take a ton of screenshots of the flights, and then I would make an overlay almost pretty similar to this kind of thing, where I'd have the departure airport, the arrival airport, the flags. I'd have the how long the flight was, the distance, my some of the flight stats like landing rate, all that stuff. I'd have the what kind of plane I was flying, the logo of the airline like I have here. So basically what you're seeing is kind of what I had. It's always been kind of when I started doing the videos, I kind of just converted over what I was doing with my screenshots. You know, basically the only thing that's not included is now having those final flight stats, but you do have kind of the stats as you go. I made it myself. Well, the only things basically at this point, there used to be a lot more that I used to have all the stats kind of showing, like the winds and the speeds and all that. I kind of got rid of that. It was a lot of clutter, I felt. With this latest version, I've kind of made it just very simple. But like the kind of the distance to go on the top there, the ETE showing our arrival time, or how much time we have to go. The little airplane going across the sky, and the little headset with our call sign, that all comes from, it's called Bene Overlay, which is very customizable. Or I don't know if it's very customizable, but it's pretty customizable. Pretty lightweight. I think it's free. Yeah, it's free. Bene Overlay. Pretty nice. I've kind of done some tweaking with it. I've done some, it's all HTML based too, so if you know HTML, you can kind of tweak things, CSS, that stuff. But a lot of overlay things are like that. The rest of it though is all I've made in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. I don't know if you can tell clearly, but the background, the overlay actually is animated. My logo is kind of flying back there if you really look closely in the lighter areas. I don't know how much of that comes across. That's why I've kind of darkened it too. Because if I have it too light, you can really see it. And it doesn't look that great because just with streaming, movement kind of gets a little muddy. But yeah, I love showing the flags. Again, if I had more time, I'd do a little bit more stuff with animation and stuff. I have, like at the end of these flights, I always show a map showing the whole world tour, where we've flown and everything, which countries we've gone to, which countries we still need to go to. I think it's really cool, but basically the way I do is I just open an Illustrator, I just show the screenshot of Illustrator, I show the screen of Illustrator. And I've done it a few times as I've gone in, actually made an animation where we zoom in to where we've flown to and zoom out, and using After Effects and all that. But it's a little time consuming. And again, I just don't have the time to devote to that, sadly. Not at this point. Not with the way my job is right now. But someday I hope I have more time to get back into that kind of stuff. For charts, are you saying like, well, I use Navigraphs. I use Navigraphs for the charts, so I think it's about $100 subscription a year. But just with all the flying I'm doing, especially since I'm streaming it, as I'm doing videos of it, I just want to have it at my hand, know that I have the charts, know that I have, because when you're flying offline, when I fly offline, it's not as big a deal. When I was flying an X-plane and I wasn't flying and trying to show off charts too, if I'm showing the charts, I want to have the right stuff. Navigraph is the Netflix of flight sim. But I think it's worth it though. It's worth it, especially if you're flying. I mean, for me, it's kind of borderline worth it. Obviously, if you're flying every day, yeah, it's totally worth it, Navigraphs. But, I mean, what is that? $6 a month or something? Not too bad. I mean, I fly about 6 flights, at least 6 flights a month, so it's about $1. It's worth it. I mean, you can find some of these charts. You can scrounge the internet and find charts, but it can be a real pain. Your Navigraphs, it's boom, 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 there it is, everything you need. For the most part, up to date. And you can do, yeah, I love the fact that you get the little, right here, little guy right there. Which at first I thought, that's not really realistic, but I've watched a lot of videos of real-life pilots, and I'm not sure if it's, whatever app they're using. They have lots of different, like the airlines, they have lots of different apps. They'll have, like, sometimes I'll see them when they're looking at their charts, they don't have the little overlay, but then they have another one where it does show an overlay of where they're going at the airport or stuff, so it's pretty cool. It's actually not unrealistic to have that. Yeah, I use it all the time now because, especially just because I want to get more and more realistic. I want to be doing things. I want to understand the charts, understand what I'm doing, where I'm going. Like my plan is, and I don't know, you know, this might all break down, but my plan is that by next year I'm going to be going to ATP flight school. But that's the plan. Stacking up cash right now because when you're going to ATP flight school, it's 7, 8, possibly up 7 months to a year of making no money. Because you just can't work going there because it's an accelerated program. You need to be available to do your flying, to do your studying 24, you know, not 24/7, but basically 7 days a week. Any time. So it's kind of hard to hold down a scheduled job. It doesn't mean you can't do something, you know, freelance stuff on the side where you can make some money. But, you know, holding down a part-time or a full-time job is impossible. And that's going to be a big ding because right now I'm making at the job, I work 60 hours a week. I'm driving truck, local here, making $80,000 a year, which is really nice. My wife doesn't have to work, but we have our house now that we just bought in August last year, and whew, it's tight. It's tight even making $80,000. But I have to work 60 hours a week to do that too, 20 overtime. So, and I'm really getting into flying, and so I've looked into it. We kind of got a plan going. We have some options. My wife suggested, even she's from China, and she suggested going back to China for those months while I'm doing the flight training where I'm making no money. Then we could rent out the house. That would help a ton, and then come back when I'm doing flight instructing, where still not making enough money to pay for this house, but then she can work. Son will be old enough probably by then to start going to preschool or daycare. Plus we'll have enough. That's why I'm stacking money right now to save up, because then we can always eat into the savings for that during that time. That's kind of my preferred plan. Now, I guess is the best plan. I prefer not to have them go over to China, but I think it knocks out two birds with one stone also, because they get to go back and they get to go and visit, spend time with her mom. They kind of want me to go along with, everyone over in China wants me to come over and visit too with them, but I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose, because then I'm burning more money to go over there and visit. Airline tickets, flights are so expensive now compared to what they used to be. So that's kind of a plan right now. And so hopefully things fall into place and we can make it work. But it'll be a tough 2-3 years until you get to a regional airline. But the way the hiring is right now, the way the bonuses are right now, once you get to a regional airline here, will easily replace the income I'm making right now, and then with bonuses, hopefully knock out a good chunk of the loan for flight school. And within 2-3 years of getting a regional, what was I thinking? I'm thinking probably get to, because I'm 36 right now. The next year I'll be turning 37 towards the end of the year next year during flight training, towards the end of flight training. By the time I get to regional, should be about 39, 40 years old. 2-3 years there, 43, and then you're at fingers crossed, hopefully the hiring doesn't crash suddenly. Never know. But 42, 43 years old, be at a major airline making 6 figures easily for the rest, for another 22 years. At least. Airlines want to bump that retirement age out further too, which if you want to keep flying at the back end of your career, making, some of these guys now are like American Airlines, if you're, I think, wide body, I think the wide body captains, they've just gotten raised to almost $600,000 a year once they get to the top of the pay scale, which is 12 years. You only need to be a captain, or you only need to be at the airline for 12 years, and you're at the top of the pay scale, which is crazy to think about. And I believe that's how it works. I don't think you start over on the pay scale if you switch planes or anything. Because if you go from... Because I think this confuses people, or if you don't have any clue about how the pay scales at an airline work. Hey, thanks for the follow, Grangel Lover. I need to update those pictures. He's 16 months now, 17 months almost, a couple days. Looks slightly different. But yeah, you look at those pay scales, and the way they work is usually most pay scales for most of these airlines are 12-year pay scales. Especially regionals. If you look at the regional pay scales, typically you'll see like a first officer. Actually, let's bring it up. I like talking about this kind of stuff. What is it called? It's called Airline Central or something. Airline Pilot Central, I believe. If I can pull this up. Alright, so this is Airline Pilot Central.com. So if you're ever interested to see what pilots make or different airlines and stuff. Well, let's go with a regional. Let's go with PSA Airlines. I haven't looked at PSA. So it gives you all this information about for example, absolute best place for pilots, pretty cool. Shows here DFW crew base of Dallas Fort Worth. That's your absolute best place, I guess. Experience matters. So if you're a direct entry captain, so if you're already a captain with 950 hours, so you're coming over from probably another regional airline, or you're coming out of flying, I'm not sure what FAR 121, 35, but I think that includes flying for something like FlexJet or flying for a corporate. Let's say you're a captain and you come over for one of those, you're eligible for a $100,000 bonus. Pretty cool. Experienced first officers. So you're coming over, let's say you're coming from, let's say you're at SkyWest and you don't like SkyWest and you want to come over to PSA. You got 500 hours. You're eligible for $75,000, so look at that already. Let's see. This is crazy right here. So, let's go. All kinds of this stuff. What's really cool is kind of go right here. Pay scale. Okay, so this pay scale actually goes 20 years, 15 years. So I've never seen that. You can already see, which is really interesting. First, so I was going to say most of these regional pay scales, they won't have anything after year like 4 for a pay scale. They'll just go 1 through 4, but actually you will have it, but you never get anything. You don't really get a raise after that 4th year because they want you to move over to being a captain. They need captains. These regional airlines need captains because what happens is you get a first officer in, they work there for a year, 2, maybe get to year 3, but usually by year 2, they're a lot of these regionals right now. You get to year 2, they're bumping you up. They're bumping you up to captain. And honestly, why wouldn't you? I mean, the only reason you wouldn't at a regional is because of you have phenomenal quality of life and you just are not really interested in advancing in your career beyond that. But if you're right now getting into the industry, most people, you want to get to the majors, right? You want to get to the legacies. You want to get to a Delta, right? First year, you're getting $90,000 a year because basically you figure out your pay rate like this. They got this cool calculator right here, $90 an hour, credit time, let's say 75. And what I like to do is I always like to look at the monthly guarantee and go with that. So 81,000, right? But good rule of thumb is like 1,000. That's what you can work. They're probably going to work you that much. They're going to try to get as much work out of you as possible. So you can fly 1,000 hours a year. So good way if you're just a rough estimate, 90,000, right? 80 to 90,000 is what you're going to make your first year at a PSA. SkyWest, same thing. Second year, you're going to be making about 97,000. At this point, they're going to then say, hey, you know, we need a captain. You know, you're eligible for upgrade to captain. Some of them are starting to do mandatory upgrades even, where you can't stay in that right seat. You have to upgrade to captain. But if you don't, you basically just get stuck at 108,000 for the rest of your career. But you might have a great quality of life. Maybe you just like, you know what, 108,000 is enough. I love my quality of life. Cool with that. But again, the reason that scale is like this is because there's not a lot of people getting this. Right? Most people are moving on to captain by here. Well, second year, third year, let's say third year, you're going to upgrade to captain. Second or third year, boom, you're going from 97,000 to 150,000. Not bad, right there. And if you stick around, I mean, there are some guys that they'll just stay at the regionals because quality of life. They like flying the CRJ or the Embraer or whatever they're flying. They just like that. They'll stay there and they'll max out at 213 an hour. Pretty good. That's crazy. So now let's look at the difference here. I don't think American is updated. Delta, I think Delta's. Delta Airlines. I think Delta has, if this is their, I don't know if this includes their raises yet. I don't think so. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so Delta has a lower monthly guarantee, only 65 hours. Reserve 72 hours. But they do have higher, everything's higher here. You can see first officer. So this is a big thing because you'll have guys, let's say you're at a regional and you work a year there getting paid 150K as a captain, right? That's typically what happens. You work there right now, especially with the way the flows are going. Year or two as a first officer, year or two as a captain. So you're going to be up to about 160,000 a year as a captain at a regional. But then you can jump over to Delta. Oh, what a cut, right? But I think you have to then look. You have to look at the long run, though, right? 92,000. But then the next year, you're back up to 136. You're back up to what you were making as a captain. At a regional, and then it just goes higher and higher from there. And once you make captain, everything's just doubled. And again, I think these numbers are way low too, because, for example, right here, your wide bodies, 334, 334. I think those are even higher now. It's insane. I mean, and the crazy thing is that it's like these guys up here that are at the top of the pay scale, especially, I mean, nowadays, there are guys coming in that are becoming captains at Delta Airlines or at these major airlines where you're making this kind of money. They're becoming captains. And the way the pay scale works is, let's say you're a first officer. Let's say you get hired on Delta, and let's use the example of what I wish I had done, right? Which would be, or where I wish I was right now. If I could like de-age and be 21, right? 21, go to flight training, or let's say you get done with your flight training, you're 23 years old, right? You get hired by a regional. You work at a regional for 2, 3, 4 years. You're 26, 27 years old, and now you're at a major airline. You're 27 years old. You're making this, 92,000. Well, next year, 136. Let's see, 30 years old, you're at 162, and let's say they bump you, now they need a captain, you're eligible for upgrade, right? And the way the seniority is going, and everything's seniority based, so you're 30 years old, but you have all this seniority. You get upgraded to captain, now you're a captain. And you don't go from year 4 to year 1. You go from year 4 to year 4. So you double, you add 100,000, right? And here we're looking at the A313. Every plane is a little bit different here at Delta. You're 30 years old. By the time you're 42, you're at the top of the scale making 284. Now, as far as I understand it, if you were to transfer to another plane, I'm not sure. I think you just go right over to this top of the pay. I don't think you have to start over and climb on the other plane, because as far as I know, maybe you do. Maybe you do start at the bottom, and that would maybe deter you from jump it. But I feel like there are a lot of people that do go for the 737-800 and they want to advance, and so they do go over to this. And I guess there is a raise still there, so maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But you're 42 and you're making that top, right? And now you're stuck at that. You're going to make that now the rest of your career, though. But because you have so much seniority, you're 42, you have another 23 years making $284,000 a year. And that's just base salary, right? And that's what the lowest one on this whole list, too. Besides the A3, that's the 220. That's what you're making. But then as you build seniority, you get to the point where you can fly like once a month. Some of these guys, because they get that gravy. They can bid for that gravy schedule, which has like maybe 2-3 flights. Or because you have all the seniority here, you can then become a captain on the 767 or whatever. And some of these are more international, right? And you bid a schedule where you fly maybe Wednesday. You fly once a month, twice a month. Some of these guys, and so they're making the top of the pay scale, and they're not even doing that much work. It's crazy. It's crazy how the airline captain industry works. Now, the reason I'm probably not interested in Delta is because Delta doesn't have. At least where we're living right now, I'm looking for a place that has a domicile in Chicago at least, and they don't have one in Chicago, which I'm surprised that Delta doesn't have a domicile in Chicago. Obviously United does. I believe American does it. Really? You don't realize that American... American, the world's largest airline? I thought Delta was. Yeah, they got Chicago right there. If I don't want to move. And can get that one, of course. Now, what I'm interested in is some other airlines, like Air France. What does Air France pay? Or what does Air Canada fly or pay? No one's furloughed anymore, you can see that. Again, typical pay around. Yeah, that Embraer is a lot less. That's kind of that regional level. How old are you, Grandja Lover? Money is probably the biggest thing. Age, yeah, I mean, you could still do it. I'm 36. One of the guys that I talk to a lot, he started when he was 39, and he flies for Hawaiian Airlines now and makes a good living. He flies inter-island too, so he's home every night basically, or he used to be home every night. Now basically he's home every other night, because the way they do the flights is they do have an overnight now, just to make it less hectic, I guess, for them. So a little bit of a bummer there, but at the same time it's like, okay, deal. They don't have, like... Might just be American. But the crazy thing is, like, you look at Southwest, same thing, pay scale is very similar. Yeah, of course you don't have the option to jump over to other planes, but that's... Yeah, but I understand that feeling. I mean, that's why I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I either do it now. That's where I'm kind of like, I almost wanted to do it this year, but then I was like, okay, let's try to save some money. And also just because where we are with the pilot hiring, I'm a little worried about like waiting 2-3 years, because then I'm older, less time to fly. And also we're getting further and further down this hiring swing right now, and so you're falling further and further behind on seniority. But yeah, I wish I would have discovered it earlier too, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, you might not be able to swing it, but I'd look into it. I mean, if you really are interested in doing it, I mean, take a look and see, you know, if it's at the, you know, if you have any interest, I would say go to a local airport and do a discovery flight. You might discover you really love flying, and it maybe gets into your bones even more than just doing the simming. I don't know if you've done that or something or not, but you know, maybe you're just not in that position. But like, there are, I mean, if you have decent credit, like ATP Flight School, which is like the biggest one that does the accelerated program, they have loan options. Of course, that can be pretty scary. Take out a, I think, $100,000 loan. I mean, that is incredibly. I'm looking at it like, no. You know, and then looking at what the payments are after. But if you are successful, you're going to be able to pay those off. You might have some tight years. You know, for the first 3-4 years, it's going to be tight. You're going to have to do some juggling. But yeah, once you start hitting, you know, especially the way bonuses are too, you can knock out quite a bit. There's a lot of help. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying. There are a ton of people. I would suggest, if you're at all interested, take a look at go to ATP. They have a search ATP Flight School. They have a, I forget what it's called, but they have a forum also, which is a lot of people on the forum are people looking into going to ATP Flight School, looking into aviation. And the probably the most popular question, the most asked question is, am I too old to do this? Am I too old? Am I too old? And usually the answer, and there's a number of people on there, a lot of people on there. There are a lot of former people that went to ATP. They've instructed for ATP then, and now they're at major airlines. They're at legacy airlines. One girl I know on there, she started in 2019. She comes from a family of pilots, but she didn't go into being a pilot right after college. She went to college for broadcasting or something, journalism. Went into that for a couple years. Realized, wait, I want to fly. So then she went to flight school. Started in 2019. So right at, you know, she was right in the middle of it when COVID hit and all that, and so the whole market got completely decimated at that point. I couldn't imagine surviving that, and yet somehow she came out of it. 2019 she started, and she is just, I think she's just finishing her training for United Airlines now. So she is working now for United Airlines. So 4 years from zero flight experience, or very, you know, maybe she had her private pilot, but if you have your private pilot, all it's going to do is cut off 2 months of your training. It's not a big deal. Basically, from zero to working for United Airlines 4 years. And in the middle of that, dealing with COVID, dealing with, you know, not a lot of jobs for her to get to build up hours. So I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That just shows you how the hiring is right now and how the industry is too, is that it bounced back, and it bounced back hard. But you know, she's of course younger, so she's now at her forever career. She's probably, what, 28 now, I want to say, maybe 27. So she's gonna, I mean, she's got 40 years of flying for United ahead of her, which is amazing. But like I said, there's another guy, Adam. He's on there. He's 30, or he started when I don't know how old he is now, but he was 39. He owned a restaurant, got 3 kids, wife, 3 kids, and just hated what he was doing and wanted to fly. And they took out a loan. He kissed his wife and his 3 kids goodbye. He actually he traveled to where he had to go to, used housing that's provided at some of the locations for ATP Flight School. They have housing because where he was living wasn't close enough to be able to commute. We went there, did the 7-8 months of training, then went into, I don't know if he went into CFIing or not, but, you know, got a job, and he's now at Hawaiian Airlines and loving it. So it's not impossible. The typical answer, you know, am I too old to do this, is no, you're not too old, but the clock is ticking. You're not too old, but you're also not that young anymore. So if you are interested, get on it, right? And basically the answer, I'd say the answer to anyone if you're interested is get on it as soon as possible, any age, because of the way the hiring's going. You know, there's this massive pilot shortage. There's a ton of hiring going on, and you don't want to end up on the back end of the hiring, because right now you got this huge wave of hiring going. If you end up on the back end, let's say you still catch it when the hiring's good, and you know they're hiring a ton of people, and you know you're gonna be able to walk into a regional as long as you have a pulse and you're not a complete psychopath, and you're gonna be able to get to a major as long as you're not a complete, you know, you're gonna be able to get there within 3-4 years, right? At this point, and probably for the next 5-10 years. But towards the end of that 10 years, you know, it's going to start slowing down again. Eventually, they are going to catch up. They're going to get a handle on this, this shortage eventually. And if you're towards that back end when the hiring starts slowing down, you might get hired, but now behind you, not as many people are getting hired, and so your seniority is not growing as fast as it is right now. Like there are some people where it's like their seniority, they got hired, they're at the bottom. And within a few months, they're almost at the top seniority at their base, just because of how fast hiring is going and how fast upgrades are happening because they're trying to fill these. So I would say, you know, if you have any interest, you know, go out, go to your local airport, go to your local flight school, and do a discovery flight. Just get up in a plane and see. Enjoy it, because you might enjoy flight simming and you might enjoy aviation, but you might not enjoy actually being in that seat and, you know, actually moving around and everything. And do that a few times, and if you want to do it, and ask questions and look into it. And again, maybe you decide I can't do it. You know, it's not possible, but if you really want to do it, I mean, you'll figure it out. There are times where I'm like, I don't know if this is possible. Is it just gonna is this gonna fade away into the you know, as this next year passes? That I'm kind of giving myself a year or two to kind of really make sure that I want to do it, make sure that we can do it, make sure that it's not just like a passing phase. You don't want to sign on a dotted line, start spending thousands of dollars for something you don't want to do. Hey Mika, welcome in. We're flying this flight again, if you're wondering. I don't know if you were here on whatever it was. Last time we flew Thursday, I think. But yeah, Thursday morning was kind of a disastrous end to this flight in the fact that we never ended the flight. The stream just cut off because the boy genius, I mean, I'll give him a break. He's 16 months old, 17 months old, but he came over. He loves to turn off that red button on the power strip, and I need to mount that power strip up on the wall up here or something, above my head or something, because every time he comes over, he'll just beelined over there. I was doing the approach stuff, just about to enter our approach and everything into Nouméa, and zap, everything, lights turn off. Everything in the room turns off because everything's basically plugged into that surge protector, and I'm just like, what the heck? I probably would have been just as frustrated if like a thunderstorm had knocked the power out, or someone like knocked a tree over and it knocked all of our power out. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating. So flying this flight again, going all right. Day off finally. Day off for Memorial Day, I guess. Actually, not for Memorial Day at all, because we're working. We've worked all weekend. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The brewery is running full tilt because they all get paid. They're all union workers, so they get paid triple overtime for holidays and everything. So they're like, well, yeah, we want to work on the holiday. And so they drag their feet all week. This is what sucks about my job. This is the part of my job that sucks. Is that we're not union, we're outside, but we do the spotting, and we do some local warehouse runs for Miller brewery, or Molson Coors Brewery in Milwaukee. And we're not union. I get paid $27 an hour. And then after 40 hours, I get paid time and a half. So I work 60 hours a week. That's a nice check, but it's 60 hours a week. I get paid overtime for the final 20. I work 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts. The guys inside the brewery, they're all union. They get paid whatever they get paid. They get paid double. They get paid overtime after 8 hours every day. They work more than an 8-hour shift. They get paid double overtime for working weekends, I think. They get paid triple overtime if it's a holiday. And so what they typically do, and which drives me nuts, that they're even allowed to do this and that they just don't get cracked down on. And this is the power, even a weak union will get you, is they drag their feet. They just drag their feet during the week. They'll make the machines not run very well. Things will go down. And then we get to the weekend, and lo and behold, the brewery doesn't want us to have too many workers, and so we have to work super hard on the weekends, not getting paid more than we usually do, while the brewery is now running full tilt, and those workers are getting paid double overtime or possibly triple overtime like a holiday here. So we're lucky when we do get a dang holiday off, because they love you'll get a crew that wants to come in on the, it's Thanksgiving, well, we'll work because we get triple overtime. It's like, thank you, now I have to work and I don't get paid extra. It's really annoying. Funny how babies do the silliest things. So many things to touch, but they go for that button. Yeah, he knows all the buttons too. He knows all the buttons. He knows all the button. He knows the power button. If you have a thing that has a power button on it. We went to the library, and the library has computers everywhere, right? And every computer we walked by in the children's area, he was going up to the power button, pushing it. Because he's like, I don't know if he knows that, but it's because they light that button up. Now my new chassis, I even bought it purposely, I think. Oh no, I didn't buy it purposely for this. I bought it for a reason. But my computer case, my new computer case, the button for the power button doesn't actually light up. So I'm wondering if he would if I had it sitting on the ground like my old one was, if he would discover where that power button is. But it lit up. But my old one, it lights up. It has a nice blue LED backlight and everything when you hit the power button, turn it on. And so he's like, oh, presses it, there it goes, everything turns off. He also seems to figure out, this. I hate this on my keyboard. It's sometimes useful, but it most of the time sucks. But that power button that's on the keyboard, I hate that. Because I've accidentally bumped it sometimes, but he always bumps it. Because he starts reaching for stuff and boom, hits that button. Right next to the calculator button, which is a weird place for it. I've never touched that button, but yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. But I think it's that's the button he goes for. Well, I don't even think of him as a baby anymore either, because he runs everywhere he's running. He is 100 miles per hour everywhere he goes, and I guess still a baby in the sense that he doesn't understand that he can't do that with everything. But alright, we're starting to get close here. 35 minutes, so that's how quick it moves. Have the heat turned up. Man finally got MSFS, finally got Flight Simulator. Awesome. Hope you enjoy it. Be patient with it. It's not perfect. Nothing is anymore. Very few games are perfect anymore. Take your time. Don't just buy everything either. Kind of take your time, figure out what you want, figure out what the good products are. Because there are some bad planes out there, but coming up fast on Rudder. Awesome. let's do...
Sim rate 1.
Alright, sim rate back to 1 just so we don't overshoot everything here. We need to get in our arrival. We're gonna get down here. On the airport. Arrival, we're gonna come in ILS Zulu. Take the Virar Alpha approach, or Star, standard terminal approach route. Pete's going to be our transition to the approach. Where's that? Flight plan, and it good. Virar, Nulvi, and then we'll have intercepts. Basically kind of like on an arc. It is 15 Lima Tango Oscar, that is. We're going to be on a 15-mile arc around the ILS. Alright. I did that. That way, once we get to Virar, we actually keep going towards the airport, not just posting off on random heading. You have control.
I have control.
Alright. So we're looking for the weather. So I'm giving him control. That way I can be down in the box and all that. Medar, we're going to print it off. We can also look. This is from 1300 Zulu, which is 35 minutes old. So, alright. We have no wind, basically. So we're going to come in on runway 11 because it got the ILS and everything. We have broken clouds at 6,200 feet. Unlimited visibility. Broken clouds at 7,200. Overcast at 23,000 feet. I'm not sure what TPU is. 18 degrees, 15 degree dew point, 1018 for the QNH, and it's becoming scattered clouds at flight level, or at 5,000 feet. So we've got some clouds going on. A little bit different than last time. Oh yeah, Maverick. I'm terrible at the Maverick challenges. I'm an airliner kind of guy. I'm an airliner guy. I don't really do the challenges because the challenges are a little arcadey. Especially like the landing and the stuff. It's like, but I don't like doing the landing challenges because the problem with the landing challenges is that they plop you in and you're not stable. So you're spending like 2-3 minutes just fighting the plane to get it on a stable approach. By the time you get it stabilized, you're not on the proper glide slope or anything. So it's nothing like a real landing. What is TPU? Never done. What is TPU? Don't have it on. Yeah, on the medar-taf.com it doesn't have that TPU. And actually, this one has a more updated. So I went on the internet because this one's a little out of date. But the QNH still 1018. It's got a little warmer. Broken clouds for 0, so the clouds have come up. Clouds are kind of moving up. Toilet paper usage. Alright. Let's see. So we're going to print that off. Oh, here, get that. Go to the performance page. Next phase here, QNH 1018. I'm going to go off of Medar-TAF right here. We're going to go off this Medar right here. A little bit more up to date. It's from 1330 Zulu. Temperature is now 19. 19. Wind is variable. 1 knot. So let's go. Transition altitude is not 11,000. I don't know where they get that transition altitude. 11,000, and our minimum we get from our approach chart right here. And minimum. I always forget if we're a C or a D. We'll go with the C. It'll be. Well, go with D. Go with the higher one. Higher minimum. Be safe. 330. Whoops. Set down. 330. There you go. We have our approach set there. Go on to my calculator. Grab. Alright. So the calculator is showing full flaps. Approach speed 140 knots plus 5, and landing speed is 135. You see right here we got auto brake low, we get the margins. We'll go with the medium auto brake. I like to go with that. Medium auto brake. Gonna be going full flaps right there. Here it's got the approach speed a lot lower. I'm not sure why it does. Alright, Most Man. You know, we're gonna have to. We'll do Miami. We're gonna do Miami soon. Once I get the ATR, I need to get my ATR skills because then we're gonna fly the ATR. We're gonna do the ATR in Florida. With Silver Airways. Yeah, Silver Airways or whatever. I don't know if they fly into Miami. They do fly into. They do Fort Lauderdale though. If we want to go realistic. Alright, we got the airport weather. We set up the MCDU. Auto brake is medium. Let's do an approach brief here. We're all on the same page. Chart. Put the chart for. Okay. Yep. We're still way out here. Obviously this is not the scale right there for our. We're coming into Nulvi. At Nulvi we need to be between 10,000 and 7,000 feet. We're going to get onto this arc 15 miles out from Tontouta, ILS 112.9, Lima Tango Oscar. We're going to take that all the way over to Païta. At Païta we're going to continue on the arc into the approach. Looks like I think right here, this Delta 1600, we need to be at 7,000. That's what it looks like it's saying there. Now, where's your home, Mosa Man? Are you talking about in sim or in real life? In sim, you can go as far as you want from your home. Don't limit yourself. But it's always fun to fly in an area you know and then kind of go off from there. Alright, now we're on the approach plate. Got November Whiskey, 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 Tontouta, Nouméa, New Caledonia, ILS Zulu, runway 11. Localizer is Lima Tango 109.9. I don't know why it says Oscar. Oh no, that's the VOR. Alright. Right there. There Tango is our ILS. But actually we're 15 out from the VOR. Okay. Final approach course is going to be 108 degrees. We're going to capture the glide slope at 1,200 feet, 3.7 miles out from the ILS. We got our minimums already. The airport elevation 51 feet, runway 29 feet. Missed approach, we're going to climb on the runway heading, intercept and follow outbound on Lima Tango Oscar VOR radial 125. At 2,000 feet, turn right, heading 198, climb into 6,000, follow ATC instructions. Alright, transition level is by ATC, altitude is to 11,000, that's where we go to our barometric pressure for the airport, local pressure. Here we got the visual map version. ILS right there, capture at November Whiskey. We're going to be turning there, so we got to make sure we're at the right altitude to capture that glide slope. I believe this might be a F.
AirCalin 411, expect 02 Alpha, arrival, Heavy ILS, Zulu, approach, runway 11, report when ready for descent.
We are ready for descent.
AirCalin 411, expect 02 Alpha, arrival, ILS, Zulu, approach, runway 11, report when ready for descent.
And then you can see the missed approach right there, 125 radial, and then on to 198 heading.
Zulu, approach, runway 11, report when ready for descent. AirCalin
Shoot off, Païta, we want to be at 7,000. We're capturing right here, 1,800. We're going to be doing this manually because we usually waste a lot of time on that. And then when we do the man, it's just always a little off. We are ready for descent.
Ready for descent.
And again, our minimum is 330.
AirCalin 411, maintain, flight level 360, cleared 02 Alpha, arrival.
Maintain flight level 360, cleared 02 Alpha, arrival. AirCalin 411.
Right, we're cleared for the arrival. We're not given a descent yet. Out here, and there's the descent. We're looking for about 10,000. Now I don't know if he's doing this, as if he's putting in the. It's really cool because it looks like I feel like he's putting in, the first officer is putting in the VOR, which is really handy. We do need the 125 radial right here. You can also do an ADF1 or a frequency, so on the chart we do have an ADF 354. Put that in over here. I have a 3.5. So we have a number of different options for ADF frequencies. I'm going to put the VORs on for now. I know. When I try turning a Cessna, I flat spin it. I'm not sure why you would be spinning it. Go down. This is new. This slope is this. I don't recall seeing this before. I don't know if they've updated that. We must have seen it last time because I didn't have an update or anything for the A32NX today. I think I've flown simulator since and updated it last Thursday. That's kind of cool. It's got the glide slope right there. Twist your joystick. You shouldn't need to twist your joystick. I mean, do you have a joystick that you can twist for the yaw? I mean, in a Cessna, you're gonna want some. I mean, if you have your rudders on your stick, you don't have rudder pedals. In a Cessna, in reality, you would put in a little bit of yaw, I believe, into a little bit of rudder in the direction that you are going, if you're turning for a coordinated turn. And typically you're only going to go into a spin if you don't put that in, and you're at a really low, you're nearly at your stall speed. If you stall, then you can go into a spin if you don't correct it. So I'm not sure what you're doing. That's pretty cool that you're actually able to put it into a spin, because I don't even know how to get it into a spin, personally. Now I can spin the crap out of some of those acrobatic airplanes. I'll get those and then I'll spin and stall, and then I'm out of control and lose it. That's slightly different, I feel. I have control.
You have control.
AirCalin 411, descend and maintain, flight level 270.
Descend and maintain flight level 270. AirCalin 411.
Alright, so we do have the green dot there. I'm going to descend faster than the green dot. I'm going to descend and get down. Because usually what happens is we get to down 10,000 feet. Now we're fighting because we're trying to stay at 250 knots or lower. But then we actually need to get descended quicker. And so we're going to get down to our levels quicker than the managed speed. Cessna sometimes go sideways and pull up. Well, yeah, if you do some weird kind of moves there, yeah, you'll go into a spin. Right there in front of us, I think there's our New Caledonia. I'll actually see some of the reefs. Really wish the camera wouldn't tilt like that. The drone just can't deal with the curvature of the Earth or something, I guess. I'm trying to figure out why have a pointer button like this. A screen, that's kind of weird. This one.
$1,000 to go.
AIRCALIN 411, descend and maintain, flight level 240.
Descend and maintain, flight level 240, AIRCALIN 411.
Yeah, so I'm doing the vertical speed descent because typically when I let it do the managed, we'll barely get to this. We'll be fighting to get down to 10,000 feet right here by Nolvi. And because the plane will then start, once we hit 10,000 or just before 10,000, it'll start slowing down at 250. Well, now we are even shallower on that glide because if we try to descend quicker, we of course gain more speed. So I'm trying to get as close to that 10,000 feet before we get there. That way, now we're at 10,000 or below. We're at 250. We got our speed under control, and we don't have to extend it downwind or anything. Seems like the last few approaches we've had to do that. We've had to extend that downwind because coming in way too fast, way too high.
AIRCALIN 411, descend and maintain. Flight level 200, contact Nadi Oceanic, Center 119.7.
Descend and maintain. Flight level 200, contact Nadi Oceanic, Center 119.7. AIRCALIN 411. Nadi Oceanic Center, AIRCALIN 411, Viral 2 Alpha, arrival at flight level 240, descending, flight level 200. Airclear 411, radar contact, continue descent, flight level 200. Continue descent, flight level 200, AIRCALIN 411.
Another thing that's really nice about the first officer that he flips on the chronometer, the clock here, track of our block time, because he puts that on once we get pushed back. The engines have started. Also see where the plane was planning to start the descent if we had done the managed descent. But we're already, we just have to go 10,000 feet between these, much shorter. Looks like what we have, about 6 minutes to descend 10,000 feet. Oh.
AIRCALIN 411, radar contact, descend and maintain 10,000, UN81018.
Descend and maintain 10,000, AIRCALIN 411.
Cabin crew, prepare for arrival.
You can see they called out descend and maintain 10,000 feet because that's below the transition level. So anywhere below the transition level, which is determined by ATC for this airport. But let's say it was the transition level was 15, flight level 150. Well, anything under flight level 150 would be called out in thousands: 10,000, 11,000, 12,000. And I actually think they would call it out as 14,000 or 10,000. There it is. Sometimes when you don't look time, you pop your head back up the window and you're on top of a island. This is all looks so different than when I was in X-Plane too, because incredible imagery available. Flight simulator definitely makes it that much more enjoyable. Not perfect, but pretty good. Going on with some of these tiles. Hopefully don't glitch out too bad. You can see right there, it's showing us the Mike Golf Alpha Aware VOR DME frequency of 113. So if we want that VOR, there's one right there. We don't need. Not sure why it's showing, popping up those. Nouméa right there. We can start seeing it.
1,000 to go.
Big reason you want to come in on runway 11, which it's the preferred runway. We can there if we needed to, but it'd be pretty tight. We'd be coming in runway 29, but we got all this elevation right here, and the runway. Actually, when we're taking off from runway 11, that's why I like to go around. Also, we immediately are on the runway heading, and then we need to intercept and follow the radial 125, because if we continued out on 108, we'd be right into severe elevation right here. The runway kind of goes into that direction. So, okay, we just heard the co-pilot adjusting the lights. Everything's on his screen too. We got the QNH in 1018 standard, or not standard, but the
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be arriving at our destination shortly. If you are making a connection with another flight, please contact our customer service agent meeting this flight,
ground pressure,
or watch the video monitors inside the terminal for connecting a gate information. For your continued flight safety, flight attendants will now walk through the cabin to secure it for landing. We will collect any off-service items, newspapers, and any other items you wish to discard or may not be taking off the aircraft with you. You are also requested to turn off all electronic devices. Stow these devices with your hand luggage, please. Please be careful when you open the overhead bins, as items may have shifted during our flight. Please stow your tray tables and return your seats to their upright positions. And check the security of your seat belt.
Well, I already think we got messed up again. You can see that green dot has now drifted down way far, and we didn't get clearance. So it's sometimes the problem is I cannot get. Oh, it is working. There we go. I haven't been able to get the speed brake to work recently, and now it is working. So that's going to allow us to descend quicker. Good thing. Get on that green dot. That's what it's all about. intercept threw it off. Okay, so if you ever have an intercept there, you want to kind of avoid that because now we're kind of on a course got messed up. Shouldn't have done that. Approach checklist.
Briefing.
Confirmed.
Ecam status.
Checked.
Seatbelts.
On.
Barrel ref.
1018 set.
1018 set. Minimum.
Set and checked. Set and checked.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
I don't remember Nouméa looking like this when I flew in here in X-Plane. Definitely a different experience. Beautiful. We're on that arc. Maybe 15. For some reason it's saying 16. Not a perfect arc, but
checked.
Not sure what I had him check. Well, now it's on. Brake is still out because I'm trying to descend. Why are we descending here? This is what I mean. It's like this plane has such a hard time descending. Also because it's got the speed out. And go. See, we got the Lima Tango 109.9, 14.6 nautical miles out. That is the ILS 108 course. Yeah, I guess I felt we were way higher, we just weren't descending, but I think we're actually fine now. Now we might be too low.
AIRCALIN 411, proceed direct November Whiskey.
Proceed direct November Whiskey, AIRCALIN 411.
Really direct and November Whiskey, kind of. I believe this is actually the home airport for this airline. It is New Caledonia International.
1,000 to go.
$2,500.
Radar altimeter alive.
Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
$2,000.
AIRCALIN 411, cleared ILS Zulu, approach at 1,800, runway 11, report established on localizer.
Gear down.
Cleared ILS Zulu, approach at 1,800, runway 11, report established on localizer. AIRCALIN 411.
Gear down.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
Landing checklist.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
Checked.
Speed.
Checked.
Set and checked.
Auto brake.
Medium.
Ecam memo.
Landing no blue.
Landing checklist complete.
$1,000.
Contact approach, AIRCALIN 740, heavy, Tango Echo Papa Alpha 3 Echo, departure at 7,400, climbing, flight level 120.
AIRCALIN 411, established on localizer.
AIRCALIN 411,
Yeah, definitely
contact
beautiful.
Tontouta,
Beautiful.
Tower 118.1.
Contact Tontouta, Tower 118.1, AIRCALIN 411. Tontouta Tower, AIRCALIN 411, on final, 11. AIRCALIN 411, wind, variable, at 1 knots, cleared to land, 11. Cleared to land, 11, AIRCALIN 411.
$400. 100 above. $300. Minimum.
Continue.
Checked.
200. $110. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. 5.
AIRCALIN 411, wind vacated. Contact ground
Spoilers. No reverse engine 1 and 2. Decel.
When vacated, contact ground 121.7 AIRCALIN 411.
70 knots.
Tontouta ground, AIRCALIN 411, runway vacated with whiskey.
AIRCALIN 411, taxi to gate 2 via whiskey.
Taxi to gate 2 via whiskey, AIRCALIN 411.
Alright, let's see. After landing checklist.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Ladies
Spoilers.
and gentlemen,
Disarmed.
for your safety and the safety of
APU.
those around you, please
Start.
remain seated with your seatbelt
Radar.
fastened
Off.
and keep the aisles
Predictive
and
windshield
exits clear
system.
until
Off.
the seatbelt signs are turned
After
off.
landing checklist
Take
complete.
care when opening overhead lockers, as items may have moved during our flight. Mobile phones may now be used on board, and smoking is not permitted inside the terminal. Thank you for choosing to fly with us.
If I can find
It's been our
gate 2
pleasure
here.
looking after you. On behalf of your crew, we wish you
The
a safe
requested
onward
position is
journey and
already
hope to
assigned
see
to
you
another
again soon.
aircraft.
Now, I don't know if PSX is going to work here. For some reason, there was some issues. I downloaded a bunch of airports. I don't know if it did work here before, so I downloaded a bunch of airports for New Caledonia, but then and it broke it. So I turned off those airports, and it still seems to be broken. So might just be out of luck on that. Looks beautiful though, even without the upgrade. But I think which is a little sad that the doesn't work, because I literally took a screenshot from this airport with all the stuff going on, loading. So I know it works at one point. And there's two of them. Taxi light off. Cabin crew disarm slides and cross-check.
Boarding requested.
Yep, it just kills. For some reason it kills GSX now at this airport, so I don't know why. So unfortunately we can't board like that, which is weird because I turned off those airports. I guess we'll do some other stuff here. Let's see. Beacon light off, seatbelt signs off. Parking checklist.
APU bleed.
On.
Engines.
Off.
Seatbelts.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Nav logo on.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking brake and chocks.
On.
Parking checklist complete.
Oh, the coming out. That's cool. I guess he kind of dealt with that, did something. What we can do is we can just go here, third-party options. We'll turn off payload station. Oh, you find it real. Passengers should start deboarding. You can see them emptying out. Slowly but surely. Any lights should be off. Not sure why you didn't do that. That's weird. Securing the aircraft checklist.
ADRs.
Off.
Oxygen.
Off.
APU bleed.
Off.
Emergency exit light.
Off.
Signs.
Off.
APU and battery.
Off.
Securing the aircraft checklist complete.
There we go. Alright, let's do a little check of the flight. We can still have the gate, but for some reason GSX just doesn't want to work with us today. Oh well. Alright, let's get Volanta up here. Things out on our flight. Alright. There's the flight from Auckland up to Nouméa. Landing rate a little firm, -266, but within range. Flight time 2 hours. Well, this is not real flight time. Double check what we got for our flight time. Should have Alright, flight time looks like it was about 3 hours and 3 hours and 8 minutes. Sim time, and then block time was 4, or it would be 3:17. Oh, what, about 3 hours and 8 minute flight time, just about right there. What do we have for our plan for flight time? A little bit longer air time, but not too bad. Send Volanta away. We'll bring up a tour map if I can find it. There we go. There's our world tour map. Everywhere we've been so far on this world tour. Down in this corner and reveal New Caledonia. There it is, New Caledonia. I believe our next flight we're going up to Wallis and Futuna, which I think is right over there. Wallis and Futuna. So we're gonna be flying past Fiji. Then from there we're gonna be flying to I think from there we're flying to Australia. Probably to Fiji, actually. Do I have my live stream? Let's check out the live stream schedule, figure out where we're going before I get too far along. Yeah, next flight going over to Haifo in Wallis and Futuna. Then we'll be flying back into Fiji, where we've already been. Then we'll be flying into Australia, and revealing Australia, we'll be flying into Sydney. And then we'll do a cross Australia flight to Perth before going to the Christmas and Cocoa Islands, and then back into Australia. So we're going to be around Australia quite a bit, probably next week. But this Saturday, we'll be likely going up to Wallis of Futuna, maybe get into Fiji as well. Depends on what we can do this afternoon or the rest of this morning. But it is 9:30 local time, my time. Not local time, but my time. So I'll probably be calling it a day for now. Thank you for coming along on the flight. I hope you enjoyed it. Always fun flying in the A320, and when things work for the most part properly, and definitely when flying into a beautiful place like this. So till next time, happy flying and take care, and happy Memorial Day if you're in the US. You have the day off.